What's up, everybody? I decided to come in low energy to start just for fun. Listen, you're on the Golasso America YouTube channel. You know what to do. Hit like and subscribe, return the notifications, and let's get after it. Hi, hello, and welcome to your favorite average to good podcast. Call it what you want. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Tony Meola, and we have quite the show for you today. I'm going to give it a menu first, boys, and then we're going to get into how you're feeling overall. So here's what's coming. What does Mauricio Pochettino need to do between now and the World Cup? That's a big, meaty topic there. And then who from the Gold Cup roster played themselves in or out of contention? And then finally, who do we think at this particular moment should be wearing the captain's armband for us moving forward? Quite a few options there, in my humble opinion. Big Tones, you're looking nice and awesome this morning. How's everything going?
I'm good, man. Post Gold Cup, had a couple days to sort of digest everything that's gone on.
And like, where are you? Anything change? Are you?
Yeah, a little bit. And we're going to go through sort of who sort of made the cut, who didn't make the cut, whose stock went up, whose stock went down. Of course, here we talk about red dots and green dots. So I'm looking forward to all of that. And I don't know that too much has changed. What I did, it's funny, Charlie came on when we were just chatting in the pre-show and said, man, we were missing a lot of players. Like, we were just chatting, we were missing a lot of players. And that's like the one thing I'm trying not to forget in all of this is we were missing a lot of players.
Yeah, some key ones in some key areas, right? Chuck, you've been banging the drum of like, we didn't have any wingers on this roster. Imagine if our team did have some wingers. And imagine if we did have some experience, let's say in the outside back positions, what this Gold Cup might have looked like. Otherwise, obviously, all hypotheticals at this point. How are you doing? And can we state for the record that Tony Meola's stock, I think, is up right now, Chuck, because our goalkeeper situation. You might have to lace him back up, Big Tones. That's all I'm saying. It's still wide open.
No. What do you mean? The stock, Matt Freese's stock is up, right?
It's up.
Yeah,
we'll get to that eventually. Yeah, but his stock is up for sure.
No, I'm feeling pretty good in terms of, okay, now I think the road to 2026 and the foundation is clear for Pochettino, because the expectations and the pressure, the excuses are out the window. He knows what's in front of him. There are no, I don't know this player pool, or I don't know the depth of this player pool, or you know that when you have everybody included, and we're talking Christian Pulisic, Timothy Weah, Weston McKennie, even Balogun and Pepe, it's a really dynamic and strong team. But when you don't have those players, there's a drop-off. And now he's starting to understand the importance of these guys. Anthony Robinson, what he does for this team. We saw in the Nations League qualifiers, right, to get into the finals, what Anthony Robinson was able to do against Jamaica. And I remember when he was starting in a more central position in the build-up, him and Timothy Weah had this great chemistry down that left flank, both interchanging, providing width, using their pace. So dynamic that it opens up the rest of the field. Just two players alone. Forget it. We're not even talking about Christian Pulisic or a Balogun or a Pepe or a Weston McKennie. So I think what I'm looking forward to now is South Korea and Japan are two strong opponents. Strong. Already qualified for the World Cup. These are, you have to go into it as if both matches are World Cup matches. Every match here on out. Every friendly is not a friendly. You're competing for a starting spot. You're competing for the positive chemistry that comes from these matches and the attitude and the mentality. So that's why I'm more upbeat now. I'm not in this doom and gloom type mode. We got to a Gold Cup final. I guess we outperformed expectations if we're being honest.
I don't think we did. I think we
You thought we were going to beat Canada and Mexico with the group?
Well, we didn't have to play Canada. No. What I'm saying
before the tournament. Yes.
Okay. We matched expectations. We beat the teams that we should beat, given where they were and how good they are, and then we lost to the teams that maybe we shouldn't have. That which includes the two friendlies. Now I want everybody to hold on to their butts, because we're going to throw up a graphic right now. We have 5 official international windows remaining. That's 10 games. We have 10 games until the World Cup starts next summer. And then, because of a little special sauce we get to sprinkle over here, we have a January camp. window that's not officially recognized by FIFA, but does give an opportunity to some other players that might be on the precipice of making the team, on the bubble. That could be their big moment. And I assume we'll see more Gold Cup roster type guys in that January camp.
Don't you think the 6 window, the early June window, is a throwaway because you already know your team at that point?
So, yes, but it's also
you're going to get good games though.
Yeah. But in terms of making this team,
you're right.
March is the last chance, really.
So basically, you have 8 games to figure out your team, right? And then if you throw the January camp window, you're going to probably get 1. Maybe you can squeeze 2 friendlies in there. But that'll be more for this Gold Cup roster that we kind of see. That's the player pool that I think we'll see more of.
Yeah.
And then so you have 8 games for pretty much the whole pool though. Yeah, to determine a team. And then 10 overall before we kick off. Now in my World Cup in 06, Tones, you can speak to it as well. We had a friendly, I remember, against Angola when we were in Germany. So there was other opportunities to maybe get some. It was behind closed doors.
Yeah, we did Costa Rica behind closed doors in 2002. We had Costa Rica in camp, and we just did. I mean, it was a full out ass kicking,
1,000% full out game, but it's behind closed doors. So yeah, you're still going to get an opportunity to work on some things and tinker a little bit. But
can I ask you a question, guys?
Yeah, shoot.
So Pochettino came out after this Gold Cup and said it was priceless and painful, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think it was more priceless and painful for the players or for him? Because for me, I think it was more about Pochettino learning and understanding the international game and the window and the players that he has at his disposal versus the players gaining this experience internationally. Like if you were weighing what was more, who learned more or who absorbed more, I think it was Pochettino.
Oh, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out the painful part because painful losing to Mexico because it's Mexico. I get it, but it sounded bigger than that. Like for me, it was priceless for a lot of people, Pochettino, his staff, but players. You tell me this wasn't priceless for Malik Tillman to get to where we wanted him to be, or Chris Richards to establish himself, or Matt Freese. Like it was priceless for those guys. What was the pain points? That's what I want to know. Like what were the pain points in this whole thing for Pochettino? Is it that he thought that he had more players than, and maybe he comes out here and go, I thought I had a dozen players out of this camp, but I'm finding out I really only have 6. I'm making up numbers, less than what he thought he would have. I don't know what the pain points are. Again, I understand the losing to Mexico. Hopefully for him, that's a pain point because it's a pain point always for us.
I think for me, the pain points are game. I've been beating this horse for a while, but the fact that you had leads, you gave up a lead against Costa Rica, you almost gave up a lead in the semifinal against Guatemala, you had the lead against Mexico, and you didn't solve problems. My pain point from a Mauricio Pochettino and coaching staff perspective is I need problem solvers, in-game problem solvers. I can only do so much from the sideline, and I can only give so much information before a game and at halftime. Now that how many guys can I trust to execute on my ideas, or that who can recognize that something's happening in the game and I need to be able to solve that. I assume there's a lot of pain in that area because I didn't see that consistently, especially given that we gave up leads in almost every game in the knockout rounds. So that would be a pain point for me. And to your point, Tones, maybe he thought he had more players in this pool, in the Gold Cup pool, that he could trust than he actually did, which we could argue, Chuck, is evidence as to why he didn't rotate, because he didn't rotate very often, and his subs seemed a little. I mean, that's a pain point for me too, from a fan perspective. Let's get this sub stuff locked down because it felt like it was a little bit all over the place.
What? Every time he made a substitution, it was way too late, or it was kind of out of left field. John Tolkien coming in as a midfielder.
I'm still shaking my head on that one. That's like that's a never-ending SMH, Just
it's like all right, happening? like for like here. We're gonna go Tolkien for Adams. Get him out there. I see it, and then bang, goal for Guatemala. Zimmerman, get to the line. So I think for me, there were a number of questionable decisions in terms of won the roster coming out in the beginning and making this roster. If you're playing with no wide players, wingers, then your right back and your left back have to be absolute animals and provide that width to get into the attacking third. We didn't see that. I remember the first few games for Freeman, he was very hesitant. Of course, he didn't want to make the mistake. And then you start to see him grow a little bit more and take some risks. But still, he's not that type of player where you're going to be playing him the ball constantly and saying, go, take him on, whipping balls, drive into the box, play the cutback ball. So he's still growing. It feels like, he's one of those younger U.S. men's national team players, more like an under 23 player by default, because he was doing so well with MLS. You're like, all right, let's just throw him in the deep end. He survived, but at the same time, that, if we're talking about taking the next step, I don't think he was ready to be that right back that the U.S. needs to excel in a World Cup, right? And then Max Arfsten, same thing. If you needed somebody to play and stay high and just take people on, great. But also in the international game, you got to defend. And it took him a long time to understand the balance. Those are some of the questions, that I left thinking to myself, did Pochettino really think that was going to work? Or was it an experiment? Was it something that he just came up with out of thin air? Was it pre-planned?
Could the pain point, Jimmy, to your point, and Chuck's talking about it, could the pain point be, hey man, I looked down my bench and I only had X number of subs, like true subs. That could be a pain point, right? 100%. Again, goes back to thinking I had more in this roster than maybe I thought which, by the way, is really good information to have for a manager.
It is.
Right? It's not as if that information should be wasted. If you're just learning about the player pool. It's funny. Who would you think of the two, Charlie, you mentioned, Freeman and Arfsten, he'd be happier with? Would be closer. Let me put it. Trying to think would be closer to being and I was saying air quotes, an international player.
I say Freeman. I would say Freeman. He's 20 years old.
Yeah.
Typical right back. Arfsten couldn't defend. And if you're comparing him to Anthony Robinson, oh my God, we're talking complete opposite ends of the spectrum.
I'll say this. I think Freeman's got more upside, right? I mean, his growth is going to be, his ceiling's still pretty high. Not to say that Arfsten's not got some upside, but it's all defensively, and his instincts aren't there. That's not why he plays the game. The guy likes to go forward. He got played out of position the whole tournament. You got
to defend first as a right back and left back. Defensive responsibilities are number one. Not attacking, not anything in the. It's defending is first.
But that's not where his instincts are. So we did have one winger on this roster, and it was Arfsten. We just put him at left back. It would have been interesting to see at some point, even when Tolkien came on during Guatemala, just to put him at left back and let Arfsten go forward. Arfsten's clearly talented going forward. He's good at creating space, very comfortable under pressure, holding the ball, looking to combine, can hit a good cross. Like when he got in those positions against the teams that we had success against, he looked good. But again, those teams weren't necessarily the best of the best. And when the games got harder, a lot of our guys didn't shine, let's say. All right, let's take a look, though. I want to keep this moving because we have some big opponents coming up. Next up in the next window is Japan and South Korea, which I think are two excellent opponents. And now we're hearing possible opponents in October. It could be Australia. And I don't know how everybody feels about that. Hit us up in the chat right now if you're feeling good about Australia. Chuck, I think we were talking off camera. Do you know any of the other opponents, or has there been any whispers that we've?
Yeah, there have been whispers that in the November window, it'll be two South American opponents.
Which would be awesome.
Yeah. So obviously, in an ideal world, you're taking on Brazil and Argentina. I mean, you wouldn't mind.
Well, yeah, of course.
Colombia and Uruguay, also two incredible opponents. You throw in Ecuador.
No, dude, if you listen, Brazil, I would take an Ecuador in a heartbeat. Ecuador. I mean, all these teams would push us in different ways.
Any of those teams.
Ecuador is second in qualifying right now. Argentina's already qualified. Ecuador is in second, tied with Brazil on 25 points. Uruguay's on 24. Paraguay's on 24. Colombia's on 22. Dude, I wouldn't mind another crack at Colombia after they gave us a nice little backside kicking before Copa America. But yeah, any of these teams would push us a little bit. But I hope it's teams that are in the top 6, with all due respect to Venezuela, Bolivia, Peru, and Chile. Though they would push us as well, but we'd really want to crack at teams that are most likely going to qualify for the World Cup. And speaking of teams that already qualified, let's get into that graphic, because there are, I believe, 10 teams that have qualified. Argentina and Brazil are in. Japan, Ecuador's in too. Japan, Iran, South Korea, Ecuador, Australia, Uzbekistan, Jordan, and New Zealand. Look at the Kiwis doing their thing. Auckland City doing it in the FIFA Club World Cup, and now New Zealand's already in. Congratulations to them. Japan and South Korea are already in. I think Ecuador would be a great shout. But apparently it's being reported that Argentina is looking to take on some African teams in the November friendlies, so they could be out in that. And at some point, I would love to get a couple games against African nations as well. We're going to face one of those teams. We could face, obviously, any of them in around the 32, like a Ivory Coast or a Ghana
give me a Nigeria,
Morocco or Egypt.
Give me Nigeria and Egypt and Morocco. Like that. Give me all day.
You know what? Just for fun, because we have a nice rivalry with them, let's bring on Ghana. Bring on Ghana. Bring them on. Okay, so I guess as we continue this conversation, what do we want to see out of our team, and Mauricio Pochettino in particular, in the Japan-South Korea game? Tones, I'm coming to you first. Like, what are obviously there's going to be some roster building, some culture building, getting that mesh of the players that weren't here for the Gold Cup in with the players that were, and making sure everybody's on the same page. And how does that translate to on the field? I mean, I guess the big question is, are you more concerned with how the off the field stuff is that the most important thing for that? I mean, obviously we want to perform well, but is there maybe an element of both? Like, what do you want to see on the field from Mauricio Pochettino? What do you want to see how it looks off the field? Because obviously we've got the elephant in the room of Christian Pulisic and how to reassimilate him back into the team.
Yeah, look, I said this on Morning Footy yesterday. Like, they asked me to do 3 things that I think Poch needs to do. The last one was don't be stubborn, right? Like, don't be stubborn with this whole thing. I come out of this, and again, I told you about the story we were talking about earlier. Pulisic, Robinson, Weston, Balogun, Weah, Pepe, Dest. I'll throw Scally in there. I'll throw Yunus Musa in there. I'll throw Tessman and Busio even on the fringes. Like, we need all of these guys. Like, what I saw over the last couple of weeks, good players, heart, determination, all of that stuff. But in the end, if you want to win in World Cup games, you have to have quality on the field. The names I just read, I'll throw Josh Sargent in there too, because I just don't think Josh Sargent's been displaced. Haji write a different story. He was here, was going to get a chance, but obviously was hurt. So we're gonna see him again. I think that just makes sense to see him again. But do we see a world in where Christian Pulisic's not part of the team and we think we're going to be better? Now, if he's not part of the team, that's because maybe him and Poch couldn't figure something out or whatever. That's not for us to figure out. Man, that's why I said don't be stubborn. We need these guys. You can, all the other stuff that you didn't come to this camp. Some guy was hurt because you didn't come. I was pissed off because that stuff can be figured out with one phone call. That's it. Just pick up the phone, have a conversation, and that's over. You put it behind you, because we need all of these guys, in my opinion, in order to be successful at the World Cup.
Hey, Tony, spot on. I give you a standing ovation, because that literally, Pochettino is here for 1 year. That's it. This isn't, I'm a whole new cycle. I'm trying to reestablish, the hierarchy within the depth charts. I'm not trying to reestablish a culture. None of that. Culture building, all that's out the window. It's results. It literally, you are brought in to make sure we go far in this 26 World Cup. That's it. Nothing else. Don't give me anything of the fluff. I don't want any fluff. So for me, it's getting Timothy Weah, Christian Pulisic. It feels like Malik Tillman is now that number 10, because Pochettino's preferred formation is a 4-2-3-1, no matter how you slice it. That's how he's typically always played, where he's had the most success. So what does that look like? I think Tyler Adams, for us, was all a lock. He's the always going to be the guy who gives you 90 minutes. He's always going to be the tough tackler. I think Pochettino is not convinced with the substitutions. You're subbing him off in the final. You sub them off in the semifinal. Oh, you say it to save legs. Nothing's guaranteed in international football. So a 2-0 lead, you probably want to lock it down. So for me, now it's this midfield is kind of up for grabs between Adams, McKinney, because I don't think Weston's a lock yet either with Pochettino, Cardoso, Musa, De La Torre. For me, 2 sideways, 2 negative when in possession. I think in the Gold Cup, I thought I would see more from him going forward, and I was a little disappointed with De La Torre. I know Christian Pulisic talked about he really likes his game and what he brings to the side, but as someone who's going to make an impact in 26, I didn't see it. So now what does that look like? You throw in Anthony Robinson, who's hopefully back and healthy, and Serginho Dest. Now the team looks a lot different. Chris Richards is a lock. What does that look like next to him? Is it always going to be Ream? Because it feels like he's very comfortable with Ream. But at this stage, father time comes at you at some point. He's undefeated. So is it McKenzie? Does he get a shot? Is it Trusty? Is it Cameron Carter-Vickers? Is it Noah Kai Banks? There's a number of players. So that's what I'm looking for. And then I always think of Zach Steffen, right? Because had he not been injured, he would have been the goalkeeper of choice. So if he's back healthy, does it go Freeze, Steffen, Turner? Is that the order at this point? Turner's got to get his move. It'll be an interesting next couple of months.
Jimmy, I know you got to go to break quick. I just got to share this story because you talk about culture. I obviously had Carlos Alberto Pereira as my coach and my manager in the Metro Stars. He had just come off winning the World Cup with Brazil. And you saw how Bebeto and Romario, how good they were in that World Cup and how they would hug each other on the field.
Oh, I loved it.
He explained to us that those two guys hated each other. They couldn't sit at the same dinner table. They wouldn't get on the same elevator. One would step off. They didn't talk to each other except when they got between the lines, right? So it just goes to show, like, you don't have to love each other off the field. You just got to you have to appreciate and respect each other on the field. Right. I'm not comparing our players to those two great players.
You're comparing it to Bill Belichick. Do your job.
Do your job. Yeah. Period. That's what you're there for. Do your job. When Charlie was talking, I just had to tell you that story because it always rings in my head talking to him about it.
No, that's a great story and some good insight, and could be something we see with our team based on how things are being built with Mauricio Pochettino. One last note around friendlies. There is some smoke around Argentina versus the U.S. in Qatar in November. So we'll see if that becomes a reality in the future. That would be a good test for us, of course, against the defending World Cup champs. All right, we're going to take our first break of Call What You Want. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Gold Cup roster and who played themselves in and out of contention for the World Cup squad. Don't go anywhere.
Critics are buzzing about the new season of Yellow Jackets.
This is not healthy.
Yellow Jackets' new season, now streaming on the Paramount Plus with Showtime plan.
Welcome back to Call It What You Want. You want average to good? We got it for you. I'm Jimmy Conrad alongside Charlie Davies and Tony Meola. And I didn't get to give my insight on what I want to see from Poch. I'm a little sad right now, but you guys were hogging the microphone. No, I'm just kidding. Before we get into the Gold Cup roster, I do want to mention that you are spot on, 10-10, no notes, Stones, on the being stubborn thing from Mauricio Pochettino and making sure that we're meeting players where they are. Conversely, the players need to meet the coach where he is and what he wants to see, and both off the field and on it. What I want to see against Japan and South Korea is a little bit more, this is a bit idealistic as a take, but I believe that 90% of your problems are solved with good team shape. And so I would love to have us be a little bit more organized on the team shape side of things, because when we played against Switzerland per se, They played out of our pressure, hit the big switch, and then we were isolated 1v1, and we struggled with that consistently throughout the game.
That's an anomaly, Jimmy. It's a brand new team. It's not even.
I get it, but
it was like, go ahead, guys. It's an all-star team. Play.
No, but for me, a team shape is stuff you can walk through that at practice.
Yeah,
he had time to walk through that type of stuff with the players. Yeah, then it's going out there and being in terms of execution. But then, okay, fine. You have a month now. You go into the Mexico game, and we're just sitting on top of our box the whole time with our midfield like 2 yards away from us. For me, that's unacceptable, right? And you had more than enough time to work on team shape in that one. So I want to see a little bit more coordination on that side of things, because here's the secret to good defensive team shape. If everybody's in good spots and the spacing's right, when you win the ball, you know where everybody's standing, and then you can play out of it and transition in a really meaningful way and go with numbers and go with purpose. And as we saw against Mexico, when we tried to get out of it and we couldn't because we were all standing right next to each other, it's almost impossible to transition. And then it becomes a really long game and a lot of frustration, all things considered. So I want to see more of that. It's just something you said right after the game, Chuck, or maybe you said it during the watch along. There's no more tinkering now, right? We know who we have at this point. They know who they have. So now we have to make sure we start putting things in place that's going to make us stronger. So we play South Korea first. Great. We're gonna get some lessons from that. How do we play better in each progression, in each friendly now, with only 8 games left to really choose your roster and 10 games overall? Yeah, that's crazy. I can't believe we only have 10 games left ahead of the World Cup. All right, as promised, let's get into the Gold Cup roster winners and losers. We're going to start with a few graphics first. We're going to go with players with the most minutes at the Gold Cup, just so we can get a little context to basically the starting 11 of every single game. But Tim Ream, Matt Freese, Tillman all played 540 minutes. Freeman right behind with 538. Chris Richards with 537. Okay, and then from there, I mean, Ajiman 507, Sebastian Berhalter 450, Arfsten 435, Luca De La Torre 431, Diego Luna 416. So those are the guys that are doing the heavy lifting. Top 10 players with that. Players with the fewest minutes of the Gold Cup. Let's take a look at those guys. Quinn Sullivan had 70. Damian Downs, only 66. That was a bit of a surprise. Haji Wright, 17. He got hurt. Mark McKenzie, only 16. That's a bit of a surprise as well. Cardoso, 11. Brian White with 9. Paxton Aronson with 9. Walker Zimmerman with 5. Miles Robinson with 5. Matt Turner, Chris Brady, Nathan Harriel logged 0 minutes.
Oof.
So I guess there should be some notable Gold Cup absentees. I like that word, absentees. Is anyone on this list in danger of missing out? That would be kind of the next graphic we can get into. But maybe first we do our roster tier rankings, and then we can get into that last one. We're gonna go through all the players' names alphabetically, okay, and then we're gonna finish with Mauricio Pochettino. We have here are the categories. We have green dot, we got stock up, we got neutral. We got stock down, and then we have did not play. Okay, so that's Turner, Brady, and Harriel. They're the DNPs. We could argue stock down on all of those.
Two of the three though have no chance. Really,
Harriel and Brady aren't making the team.
No, not making the team.
Okay, and Matt Turner still in the conversation for number 1, though he didn't get a minute in the Gold Cup, which is kind of funny to say out loud. All right, so we're gonna go alphabetically, and we're gonna start with Brendan Aronson. I don't know where I have him. He's
stock
kind of
down.
Neutral stock down.
Stock down. There's no neutral. He's stock down.
I was there initially.
The guy played a lot of minutes at Leeds to go from the Championship to the Premier League. But if you're looking at stats and you're someone who's like, okay, how many goals and assists does he have? How many chances is he creating? A lot of the Leeds United fans would be like, well, we're not really getting that from him, but what we are getting is work rate, because he presses and he's always moving and he's active and he forces defenders to make mistakes, and he's great in the counter press. But we're talking about taking that form of playing every day, every week with Leeds to this U.S. Men's National Team Gold Cup team. You would expect him to excel, because a lot of these guys are inexperienced.
Yeah.
And he did not do that. So you have to go with stock down.
Yeah. I agree with stock down. He had an assist to Malik Tillman. But outside of that, I didn't think he had much of an impact at all. Surprisingly, I thought I was going to get a little bit more out of Brendan Aronson. We have a lot of names, so we're going to keep whipping through this. Big Tones, Paxton Aronson didn't play all that much. For me, I thought he'd get a little bit more time, but once it was clear that Pochettino wasn't rotating, that wasn't a good sign for him.
For me, Jimmy, I put him in neutral because I didn't expect him to get a lot of time. He didn't get a lot of time. I don't know that the time was a stock down or a stock up.
I agree with you on the neutral.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. I'm with you on that. All right. So now we're going Tyler Adams. I'll go with this one. I said neutral. He played. He was one of our leaders. But in terms of him getting subbed out at the end of games, that's a little crazy to me. I mean, you want your most experienced, most vocal, organizing type players with presence to be on the field in the biggest moments. So, yeah, a lot to explore with that. But I would say neutral, right? He's going to make the team, and he's going to start for us. So that didn't change. That didn't change for me going in, didn't change for me going out. And so I put him at neutral. Okay, Chuck, you got Patrick Agyemang.
It's hard to say. It's hard to say anything but neutral. But if we're talking about going forward, I think it ended up being stock up to stock down in the end. By the final, I would say stock down by the final.
You don't think that's his game? You don't think his stock went up this camp with regards to Pochettino loves the guy? Clearly, he played him.
I had him at neutral. I had him neutral.
See, this is where I'd say, he absolutely was stock up and then neutral. But at the end, by the time the Gold Cup finished, he went stock down because he wasn't able to produce. He wasn't able to produce. So for me, you got to compare him to how does he fit within this system? How does he fit within the team going forward? If you're talking about Ricardo Pepi, who is a goal machine, you're talking about Balogun, who gives you goals, but his overall play, his technique, his runs, his IQ is high. Agyemang is way off of that. And it's, again, we knew he's a project. He's raw. Has he gotten better? Yes. But we're talking about from now till next summer, is he going to make the necessary jumps to be all of a sudden that third option? I don't know. So for me, in the end, by the Gold Cup final whistle, I'd say stock down.
I just went for in my head when I think about this, I'm just thinking from like Poch's standpoint. Did in Poch's mind the guy go up or did he go down? But I see where you're going. I'm fine with it.
I get it too.
I get it.
I don't think he did anything that's like he kind of did what I expected him to do. That's why I had him neutral. Where you want more out of him, but you didn't necessarily get it.
Well, you want goals.
Oh, yeah, of course. You want goals.
Goals. Yeah. He's a big striker. You expect the hold-up play.
That's part of the job. That's a job requirement.
For me, I was disappointed with his movement. And because you could say, he didn't get the ball. He didn't initiate those runs to demand the ball in the channels. Hey, I'm the starting striker. Everybody knows now. Pochettino trusts me to be the guy. Get me the ball. That's the attitude you have to have. I'm making this run. Okay. Hey, Alex Freeman, you're 20 years old. Get me the ball here. You're the right back. I'm going to make your job easy. Play me into the channel. I'm going to move the team up. I'm going to keep the ball, and then we're going to play in the attacking half. Those are simple things. I think his runs need to improve. We're going to
defer to our resident number 9 on this one. Patrick Agyemang is stock down on our list. Max Arfsten, Big Tones. Where are you?
I'm going to go stock down on Max Arfsten. Just that for me, he was played out of position. We know that, but just defensively, if you're a defender, you got to defend right at some point, and all the other stuff for me is a bonus. So I'm going stock down.
All right, I'll just jump in. This was the hardest one for me because he was effective going forward, and then he was not great defensively, and I thought that balanced out, so I put him in neutral. But you could make. I agree with you ultimately that stock down. You got to defend. If you're going to play in the back line, you got to defend, and that needs to get better if he wants to have any sniff of making the team, at least in that particular position. All right, I'm up next. Sebastian Berhalter. I'm going to say stock up. I was pleasantly surprised with how he performed, and obviously he earned that trust from Mauricio Pochettino. So it's really, I guess it depends on what lens you're looking through. but his set pieces were excellent. So that's an added benefit to what he brings to the table. He got a lot of run out. I liked his bite, right? He's feisty.
Yeah, and he was played out of position too, right? He was playing, on the right. And
yeah, you're right. And still making plays. He broke up so many plays. Yeah, there are obviously, and this goes for everybody, but he was included in this. Where could he have helped us, especially against Mexico in the final, hold on to the ball, get himself in positions where we could transition, because we were really struggling and underneath it for a good portion of that game. I assume from like a priceless and painful type description from Mauricio Pochettino, I think that experience of being in the final against Mexico, your first time ever playing against Mexico, in that type of environment with what's at stake, I think that's really
tough. It was tough for him. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think he gets both. He gets he's clearly a student of the game. There's no question he's a student of the game. He's going to grow from that. And there were moments where him along with others could have done a little bit better in finding pockets of space to help us get out of trouble and maintaining possession of the ball, which was key, which we didn't do.
I'll tell you one thing. He's a player that
but overall, stock up.
He makes the most of what he has. He gives it everything he's got. He uses every ounce of his IQ, his physical capacity, and just his ability to anticipate. I was really impressed with his game over the course of this summer. So
okay,
I'm with you with the stock up.
I appreciate that. All right, coming back to you, Chuck. How about Johnny Cardoso?
Stock down. Because I know he got injured. I know, but when he played again, I couldn't fathom that's the Johnny Cardoso that we were seeing at Real Betis, who's going to potentially to Atletico Madrid, because it's slow. He doesn't move the ball quickly. His decision making, his starting points, where he's trying to get the ball and make the game. I was really disappointed. Really disappointed.
Yeah, we got Rafa in the chat saying that Johnny's the biggest disappointment for me. Huge, way down from CS. And
I wonder if it's a biggest disappointment, Jimmy, because you just expected him to play in this competition, or is it about
no?
Play,
it's
right?
both. It's both.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, let's go to you, Big Tones. Luca De La Torre. Where is he on your chart?
For me, I'm going to tell you, it's a neutral for me, because I got I've seen Luca De La Torre from youth national teams on. It's the same player that I've seen forever. You can put him in stock down if you want, but for me personally, it's the game hasn't changed one bit. Decent pass for the ball, a little bit of movement, but too much neutral, too much back. Not looking forward enough. But you or someone else might say stock down. I got out of Luca De La Torre exactly what I thought.
I'm the same. I had him.
We were going to get out of Luca De La Torre. So if you want to put him in stock down, that's fine. But
he's this summer's Joe Scally, is what you're saying.
That might need explanation, but
Joe Scally, honest Joe, it's just
solid.
Solid.
Yeah.
You know what to expect. It's a lot of safe and neutral and sideways back.
He's not going to run by you. He's not going to, he's in good spots. Like, he's the same player that I thought when he plays, I know exactly what I'm going to get. So for me, it's a neutral.
Yeah, I'm neutral with Luca De La Torre as well, and we're seeing a lot of people in the chat saying as a spicy pineapple. Daniel all saying Luca is neutral. Chuck, I'm going to you on this one. Damian Downs as our resident 9.
I'm gonna go with neutral. We just didn't see enough of him. I'm a little bummed, and I saw that he's on the verge of going to Southampton. So Southampton's going from the Premier League to the Championship. You expect them to go kind of do the bounce back, and they'll have a number of strong players. Can they make the jump back to the Premier League after this season? But again, there were times where we were saying, all right, Ajiman's tired, or Ajiman's lost the ball, or he hasn't been effective. Just do like for like, striker for striker. Don't put on Downs with Ajiman as the 2 strikers unless you're chasing the game and you need 2 strikers. But give him a proper shot at the 9.
Did Downs ever get a run out by himself at the 9? I don't think he did. He was always partnered with Ajiman, right?
I think he took off. They put him on in one game, and then they took Ajiman off at the end of the game, which allowed him. But it wasn't like just a free run. Yeah.
No, that would have been nice to see that. I agree.
Yeah.
With you
So
as well.
and S. Brown, exactly, incomplete for Downs because not enough info. We just didn't get enough of him. And I remember me and Tony were like, hey, let's see what this guy can
Every
do.
game I said the same thing. I wanted to see Downs. I don't know enough about him still. I just went through 6 games of Gold Cup, and I still don't know enough about Damian Downs.
100%.
All right, so I got Alex Freeman next. I think he's a stock up. I don't know if he's going to be in serious consideration for the World Cup roster next summer. I think he's put himself in the conversation, and we're going to see how he continues to evolve at Orlando City, where he's been good. And so clearly he's gotten that respect and trust from the coaching staff. They rolled him out every single game. And when he didn't play in the friendlies, Nathan Harriel came in. It was clear we needed Alex Freeman back into the team. So I do think, though, his ceiling is very high, and I'm excited about his future. I just don't know if it's going to be enough for him to make it. But ultimately, overall, I think he's a stock up. And yes, there was some rawness to his game. That's undeniable. But I think everybody could see that there's a player in there. And once we can allow him to go forward and he can get that confidence going forward at the national team level, I think he's going to have a nice, bright future. He already has a nice, bright future. So I'm going to say with that. Okay, quick fire for the rest. Matt Freeze, what do you got, Big Tones?
Stock up.
Stock up.
Stock up. I give him a green dot, to be honest. But stock up, I'm going to defer to you for sure. But I think that he's in that conversation, potentially be a green dot.
Green dot would be perfect, Jimmy.
Okay, so green dot's perfect. Okay, all right.
It's pretty close. I mean, you're not.
Tones,
you're willing to say he's the starting goalie for next summer. That's green dot. You know what I mean?
Okay.
He's not green dot. Stock up is very, very strong. So well
okay,
done.
I'll take the next one because I want to get Chuck's thoughts on the one after that. I got Diego Luna. I'm saying stock up. Scored a few goals, his first goals of his international career, both against Costa Rica in quarterfinals, 2 against Guatemala. I think he did enough to definitely, he's in the team. He is 100% a lock, and I believe he'll be a good option for us off the bench in the World Cup next summer. And, fair play to him because a year ago he couldn't make the Olympic team, and now he is.
Shocking. That was shocking.
My head scratcher, but
that's a shocking one.
But now a lot for the World Cup roster. So fair play to Diego Luna. He's done an excellent job of taking his opportunities. Okay, Jack McGlynn. Chuck.
Stock down.
You knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming.
Set him up.
And that's another head scratcher. Jack McGlynn was playing right wing. And of course he scored a
Is that a
Pochettino
goal thing, though? Is that Jack McGlynn's fault? Or is that
That's Pochettino.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
But I'm saying Pochettino played him at right wing against Turkey. He scores a brilliant goal to start the game. But we all know he can't play wing. He can't sprint. He's not, so
I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see. I still want the race between you and Jack McGlynn. Please.
It'll go down at some point. And the longer we wait, the better chance he has to win. But I'm gonna say, when you give him time and space and he can pick his head up and choose where he wants to go and shoot from distance, he looks amazing. But at the international stage, how often do you get the time to pick your head up and do whatever you want in the middle of the pitch? Rarely.
Yeah.
So you saw Pochettino loved Jack McGlynn. He was the first sub in Nations League and in the semifinal against Panama where we lost. That was the first sub to not playing against Mexico in the Gold Cup final. So think about how high he was on Jack McGlynn to coming down to and now I see that it's pretty tough at the highest level, right? So it has to be stocked down.
Okay. I have Mark McKenzie next. He's stocked down for me. He didn't take his chance against Switzerland, didn't look particularly good, nor did the rest of the team. And then didn't play much in the Gold Cup. And then in a big moment against Guatemala, when it's time to, lock down the game, Mauricio Pochettino elects to go with Walker Zimmerman over Mark McKenzie. And I think that's not a good sign for Mark McKenzie in particular, that he's not like the first name off of the bench in a tough situation. So that I would say stock down for him. All right, Tim Ream, Big Tones.
I'm going to go stock up because I didn't know that he would play as much as he did during this competition. He was played every minute. He's played started 12 of 16 games under Poch. I can't think of anything else other than stock up when it comes to Pochettino thinking about him. Stock up.
Okay, I'll take the next two. Chris Richards, green dot. Player of the tournament for the U.S., green dot. Miles Robinson, stock down for the same reasons that Mark McKenzie didn't get any significant minutes. Clearly wasn't the first guy off the bench in any tough situations, so stock down for Miles Robinson. And now Quinn Sullivan. Chuck?
I thought you said you're taking the next. I'm going to go stock down.
I did two in a row.
Stock down, again, the lack of experience and quality at the highest level, right? He just got his feet wet. He was thrown into the deep end and wasn't ready. Malik Tillman, green dot.
Green dot.
That was mine, damn it.
Green dot.
There's my green dot.
I thought I was going to get a green dot today. Tolkien, stock down, Tolkien.
I had him neutral. I didn't know if he was going to play or not.
That's
obviously,
you know what? Neutral's more fair. Playing, the way you put him in. I mean, left wing, neutral. Yeah,
you're
right. You're right.
Central midfield, Tony.
Brian White, Chuck, stock down. Yeah, Haji Wright, neutral. Mm-hmm. Walker Zimmerman for me, neutral. Walker Zimmerman did what I expected. He got the minutes. I thought maybe he or other center backs would get some more time.
He was called in as a replacement. I mean,
that's Tolkien, right? Or Brian White or Walker Zimmerman.
No, Zimmerman.
Either way, neutral there for me. And then Mauricio Pochettino. Where is he on this?
Go ahead, Jimmy. Take it out.
Yeah, go ahead. Take us out.
Go ahead. Take your hosting.
Take us out.
Let's go.
Oh yeah. But listen, I'll say neutral. That's a really safe place for me to live with Mauricio Pochettino.
Wow.
Hey,
really safe place.
It's a really safe place for me.
Wow.
Listen, yes, I had some issues. I had some issues with the tactics and team shape in particular. The subs, I was disappointed.
Neutral.
Hey, listen, I'm talking this out. The four straight losses, that I didn't really like what I saw like Turkey and Switzerland. Turkey could have been a little bit different.
Place. We're in a safe place.
I said it was a safe place. I'm in a safe place right now. I'm talking this out with my feelings. I don't think there's a stock down there.
Up. Tony, he might as well go stock up.
Listen,
he's talking himself into it.
No, Tone said this a long time ago, and I completely believe with it. Believe in what you're saying. You can't judge a manager until you see the end product. We can't judge Mauricio Pochettino until we know for sure. This could all be testing and poking and prodding to figure out what kind of players he has in his player pool. I'm going to have more hard takes and harsher, quote unquote, harsher opinions based on what I'm seeing now. When now he's got an idea of what he's got, and now he's got to put that together.
Soft.
I just love
soft.
That you said safe place.
You know who's soft? You know who's soft? You guys for dodging the question completely. All right, we're going to take our last break and call what you want. When we come back, we're going to talk about some other stuff. I don't even know what we're talking about after the break.
Look,
stay right here. It's going to be a big surprise for everybody.
This is a safe place for Jimmy.
Mr. Soft. Mr. Soft Conrad.
Charmin Soft, baby. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
The clock never stops. Relive the greatest moments with uninterrupted highlights and more.
It's Gareth Bale. Ronaldo. Wonderful goal.
On the UEFA Champions League channel, streaming free.
Yeah, so I mean, I think there's no greater honor to represent your country in any capacity. Whether that's being an assistant coach or having an opportunity to lead the team for a short period of time. And I think for me, your greatest memories are, I think you get caught up in the games a lot, but it's again, being with the group, going to a World Cup and kind of the whole journey and seeing it all come together, to be part of a staff that went to a World Cup and, took the youngest team to the World Cup. And I thought, competed at a pretty high level. I think that's always something that, you can reflect back on and how much work it takes to get to that spot. Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt that the team currently can make a run. And I think this summer showed that they were able to create healthy competition in the group, a lot of valuable experiences, some through adversity, some through success. And I think it's going to make the collective group, and that's the player pool, the staff, the coaches, even more resilient, and should be looking forward to sort of the final preparations here for what can be a really exciting time in the summer of 2026, but also an opportunity to really inspire the entire country in 2026.
All right, we're hearing from BJ Callahan, the coach of the red hot Nashville team in MLS.
Yes.
From what I'm seeing around the internet, they are number 1 in the MLS power rankings right now. Been absolutely on fire. I'm seeing a lot of comments. Matthew Dominguez says stock down on Jimmy. For what? Having a nice realistic take?
100% stock down. I could not be more disappointed with how soft you went. You went safe. You preface it. I'm going safe, guys.
I said,
come on, Jim.
Neutral feels because I have Tones' opinion echoing in my ears.
Come, get him, Tones.
You can't evaluate.
Tones
can't evaluate a World Cup coach.
Place.
Yeah,
you can't evaluate a World Cup coach until the World Cup.
No doubt.
So,
I just love that you said I'm going to go safe here. I just love that you openly said.
I just said I'm going to go into a safe space. Neutral.
No, time out, Jimmy.
Neutral the safe space.
We're talking about Pochettino when he's done with the U.S. men's national team after World Cup. We can evaluate him properly, but you got to evaluate him for this summer. That doesn't mean he gets a free pass to make bad decisions and select.
I didn't say that.
You basically
you're
did.
leading the witness, Charlie. You're leading
the witness.
You basically said that. Hey, I can't judge him, so I'm gonna go with the neutral safe. Oh, there we go. What an image. Hey, Ivis, this is the best. Ivis has done it.
Okay.
Or is this Dez? I don't know. Dez or Ivis, I don't know, but this is incredible.
Green dot this head right here.
Well, clearly I'm red dot. It's just Charmin with a special red dot, so you guys don't miss when you're wiping your backside. Listen, where I have disappointments, fine. Where I have disappointments, I wanted to see more rotation in the squad. I didn't necessarily care for a lot of our tactics or in solving games in especially against Mexico. Well, there were some, but when it mattered most against Mexico in the final, it didn't come to fruition. And then the subs were head scratching. It's probably the best. So yes, if you look through a certain lens, I think that he learned a lot about this, priceless and painful, right? As he using his own words here.
Mm-hmm.
I would lean more towards stock down than I would say neutral.
Oh, wow. We finally got it out from Tony.
He got peer pressured into that.
No. I'm trying to be thoughtful. Chuck, let's put our UEFA coaching badge. I'm trying to be thoughtful about what he might be seeing and how he's evaluating this whole process, which could be a lot different than how we're thinking results, and then we're working backwards. He's thinking about culture building, clearly, because that's what he talks about pretty much every press conference.
That's really important at this stage.
Well, you're speaking about it from like a fan perspective. I think from a team perspective, I think he's thinking when he says culture, I think buy-in.
All right,
and
listen, Jimmy.
He needs people to buy into his methodology.
No, what buy-in do you need to play in a World Cup on home soil in 1 year? What buy-in do you need? Because from my point of view and your point of view and Tony's point of view, we've played for coaches we don't like.
Yes,
but
we have.
At the end of the day, you know what's in front of you. And you're going to do whatever it takes. Like you said, like Tony said, Bebeto and Romario, they didn't like each other. But they knew, hey, if I want to play, if I want to win a World Cup, when I walk on those lines and the coaches selected us to play together, guess what? We gotta put on the show of our life. Whether I absolutely hate this guy, I know I need this guy to win. And that's exactly what took them to the championship, to win the World Cup. So these guys, whether you like Pochettino, whether you say, this guy, I really don't see where the tactics are coming from. We're supposed to be getting a world-class guy. He's not calling me. He's not talking to me. Sure, but I know when I get on the field, I got to do my job. That's it. I don't need buy-in. Yeah. You gotta give it everything you got, and then some, to make sure you make that team. And you hopefully by the end of that year before the World Cup, you feel like you're in a good spot and everyone understands how to get the most out of the group.
I mean, we can use Mexico as an example.
Yeah,
Aguirre comes in and there's a clear buy-in, and they have a much clearer identity on both sides of the ball than we currently do. And in fairness, they had their A squad a little bit easier to work with all of the players that were available for the most part in their player pool. So a little bit of apples and oranges. All right, let's talk about the captaincy talk. And Tones, who is our captain? We had Tyler Adams as our out-and-out captain in the 2022 World Cup. And so let's throw up a graphic of candidates that could potentially lead us next summer. We have Tim Ream has actually played the most games, most appearances under Pochettino, and he was captain throughout the Gold Cup. Tyler Adams has got 8. Chris Richards has got 8 appearances under Pochettino. Surprisingly, Christian Pulisic's only got 5 appearances under Mauricio Pochettino. Anthony Robinson's got less at 4. Weston's only got 4. These were the 6 names that we thought could potentially have captain type or opportunities to be the captain. If Tim Ream
and also put in Dest 0. Right?
Got 0. Jedi Robinson, he's definitely emerged as a captain at Fulham, and I wouldn't be sad if he was our captain. Guy puts in a shift and clearly has taken on more leadership. You won't get a captain's armband in the Premier League otherwise. Tim Ream obviously was a captain at Fulham prior to moving to Charlotte. Tyler Adams, I like having a captain in the spine of the team. No disrespect to anybody that plays out wide. And Mauricio Pochettino being a center back. I think you said, Tones, that maybe Chris Richards would be someone you would in our last
in our production meeting yesterday, we were talking about this, and I said I would not be surprised based on everything that Pochettino talking about this culture during a time where Chris Richards was part of the group. If Ream plays, I think Ream stays as the captain because inherently center backs, the oldest guy in the team, blah, blah, blah. But I think if anyone grew into being a captain under Poch right now, it's Chris Richards. Yeah. Based on the way he played, Pochettino was a center back. That plays into it in your mentality. And I'm with you, Jimmy. Normally the spine of the team is where you have someone, which is incredible that Anthony Robinson is a captain at Fulham, right? Because that just shows that along the way in his time at Fulham on a daily basis, he's been a leader every single day, which makes it even more incredible for me that he's a captain. But it's a credit to him. So I think it comes out of the back is where our captains will be, just based on Pochettino, his history as a player, and who did he have? Well, at Tottenham he had Harry Kane, so that's a different story.
And Christian Eriksen too.
Christian Eriksen was he for a while?
Lloris was captain.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then Marquinhos at PSG.
Marquinhos, not a surprise. He's the longest standing player at PSG. He's been there like 10 or 11 years. So that's not a surprise. Yeah, but I think it comes from I think it's going to be a center back in the end. And if Tim Ream makes it a year from now, I think he will be the captain. If not, it'd probably be Chris Richards in my mind.
So definitely not Christian Pulisic, huh, Chuck?
No, I don't think so. I don't think, and he would probably say, I'm fine with that too. I can lead by example. I can lead with my performances. I don't need an armband to lead. I think he's at that level. So, I think Chris Richards probably has made the most growth. I've been so impressed with him on and off the field. His personality, he's just he's a great kid. So I could see Chris Richards being the guy. I also know Anthony Robinson's an incredible leader. He's a machine. And like Tony said, if you're a left back and you're the captain, that means you are literally leading on and off the field in every capacity, and everyone looks to you for your maturity, your IQ, the way that you the energy that you give off. So for me, it's Richards and Anthony Robinson that I see as captains. But I got to stand up and give a round of applause for what Tim Ream has continued to push, even with his age, moving from the Premier League to MLS with Charlotte, playing out of position at left back and then coming to center back and still moving forward. There's a lot of guys that say, I've done what I need to do with my career. I got to play in that World Cup. I'm good. I don't need – he's still pushing. So, a lot of credit to Tim Ream and how he's been able to still continue to perform and still the best ball-playing center back that we have.
I think Tim Ream will make the World Cup roster. It's just a matter of whether he's going to be starting for us in a year's time at age 38 when the World Cup kicks off. His leadership, undeniable. I loved a lot of his quotes that he had throughout the tournament and what he was doing to motivate the guys. So there's going to be a lot of value for him, whether he's playing on the field for us or not. Obviously, we're hopeful that we can find a younger option just because we should have a younger option.
At a World Cup, there's naturally going to be balls behind, and you need some pace.
Yeah, and you're hopeful that a younger player could have pushed him out at some point because it's just undeniable that player was ready to take more minutes, like we're seeing with Chris Richards now. But that hasn't seemed to have emerged yet. So yeah, fair play to him. But I still think he'll end up making the roster. What's interesting about Tyler Adams, captain for us in 2022, but got subbed out in the last 2 games in the semifinal and final. And if you have a player that you think you can't depend on for 90 minutes, or if it's you're down a goal, like is what we saw. Well, actually in both games, different situations, but let's say in the Mexico game in the final, we're down a goal. He elects to keep on other players that maybe can provide you a little bit more of an offensive spark potentially. I don't know. I'd like to get some more info on why that happened. But yeah, a captain stays on the field the whole game and is driving things the whole time. So that needs to be taken into consideration, which is why I agree with you, Big Tones. I think it'll be a center back ultimately.
Otherwise it'd be Tyler Adams, right? Would we?
Yeah, for me, Tyler Adams. Of course, he's one of those guys where he doesn't need a piece, a thin piece of cloth around his arm to be a captain.
No,
he doesn't need that to go out and be a leader. So,
and by the way, not everybody wants to. You want to wear it like for a World Cup because it's an honor, but like not everyone wants to be a captain of a team. There's so many other things. You're expected at a different level all the time. You're the guy going to all the press conferences. You're the guy answering the questions every day. It's not as if everyone. It's an honor, there's no doubt, but it's not as if everyone wants the rest of the responsibility. Yeah.
Well, we put up a poll, and Chris Richards is running away with it at 44%. So we'll see. We'll see how it all plays out. We obviously have 10 more games. Well, maybe that'll get. Yeah, maybe that won't get. Maybe those June games. We're still trying to figure it out as well. But I'm sure Mauricio Pochettino and his staff will have already identified who they want to be the leader wearing the captain's armband going into a massive World Cup at home here next summer in 2026. Speaking of Tyler Adams, very quickly before we let everybody go, we are interviewing him. So if you have any questions, drop them in the chat right now. Even when we shut down the stream, if we'll do our best to see if we can ask him a question from our lovely community. And that interview will be dropping on our Golasso America YouTube channel at 9 a.m. Eastern on Thursday before we kick off live at 10 a.m. So, yes, Tyler Adams is joining us. We just went from average to good to great for a short period of time. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, so be on the lookout for that. We'll see you on Thursday. Enjoy any U.S. Open Cup games, too, for any of you that are supporting or have anybody left in the quarterfinals. And watch these two guys on Golasso Network. They'll be covering the Open Cup as well. And we'll see you soon. Thanks for hanging out with us. Later.